This is the program where you get to know the person behind the persona. This week, I welcome one of the heavy hitters in the world of Kansas hair care. He operates one of the leading beauty schools in the nation here in Wichita. Surely, you've heard about the Eric Fisher Academy. The school has won numerous awards for its outstanding curriculum and cutting-edge facilities, attracting students from around the world. The man behind it has been called a living legend in the field of hairdressing. Eric Fisher grew up in Wichita with a father who was a test pilot for Boeing. As a youth, Eric was a promising drummer for various bands, but decided to switch gears and pursue a career in the beauty industry. Upon graduating from Vidal-Sassoon Academy in London, he became a freelance hairdresser who worked for various magazines throughout Europe and Asia. After marrying his wife Mary in 1987, Eric sought to pursue a career stateside, but he turned down a prestigious position at a top salon in New York City in favor of opening his own salon in Wichita. It was a huge success and has led to a chain of 4 salons across the Wichita metro. In 2007, he opened Eric Fisher Academy, which has grown to become one of the leading cosmetology schools in the nation. A salon magazine calls Eric Fisher one of the top 75 educators of the century. Coming up, we'll try to uncover the secret formula behind his success. And when he could be doing all this in Paris or New York, why Wichita? This should be an interesting and fun half hour as I go one-on-one with Eric Fisher. Hello and thanks for joining me. I'm Victor Hogstrom, and I'm excited to welcome beauty mogul Eric Fisher to the program. Great to have you.
Great to be here, Victor.
Now, as a kid, Eric, when you were growing up, we know that your mother was a beautician, your father was a test pilot for jet planes and working for Boeing, and you decided you'll become a beautician? Is that the right word for it?
You know, we've been called many things.
Okay.
Beautician, hairdresser, hairstylist. Yeah, the word is kind of cosmetologist.
Okay, all of those words. The question is, were you planning that from your growing up days, or how did that all happen?
Absolutely not. You know, I grew up like every kid. I just loved baseball, football, basketball, played all the sports. I think, my parents were actually from back east, and my mother got a degree in literature from Penn State originally, but she always wanted to be a hairdresser. So they ended up in Wichita because of Boeing military, and my dad got a job as a test pilot, as you said. But my mother wanted to be a hairdresser, so she went to beauty school, opened a little place called Aristocrat Hair for Men and Women. And I think because they didn't have a babysitter, that my mom would take me and I'd watch my mom do her magic, and I loved it. And she was a wise woman, and I never thought about being a hairdresser, but I did enjoy the passion that my mother had for what she was doing. She was always excited, always happy, always passionate. I don't know if she was any good or if she really made any money, but I know she loved what she was doing. So that was kind of, a motivation for me.
But you would think that if you were interested in the art, I'm calling it an art now because it's very artistic.
Yeah.
You would have volunteered to help your mom in her shop before even pursuing this dream.
Good point. I never did. I mean, I was. As I got a little older, I played music, so I worked at nights. I knew I loved music, jazz, and I wanted to, go to college, major in music, and make my living playing in bands. Exactly. And I'd worked since I was 13 in clubs. I was on the road, for a long time as a young guy. But I went to music school, and I thought I was going to be the best, and I wasn't, and it was really crushed me. And I look back and I thought, you know, what do I really like? And my dad influenced me too, but my mother was she was so wise, and she would say things all the time that I could identify with. Mm-hmm. And I love passion. I knew I worked hard. I wanted to do something that I loved, that I was passionate for. The hair thing never entered my mind until, you know, that time I thought, you know, I need to do something different. The music thing's not going to work out for me.
And at what point was this?
I think I was about 19 years old. So I dropped out of college, and my dad said, you know, I always tell this story. You know, he was in the Korean War, he was in the Vietnam War, and big tough guy, 6'3", 220 pounds. So the only time I saw my dad cry was when I told him I was going to beauty school.
Yeah, that was my next question. What was the reaction?
His was not great, I got to tell you. He's like, you know, he wanted me to follow in his footsteps, but you know, my picture was different than his, and he was so good, so capable. My mother, like I said, the passion was there. I really love what my mom was doing. And then I had this little girlfriend that was a hairdresser, and she used to cut my hair. Mm-hmm. Music was loud, the girls were cute. I thought, I'm gonna do this. So I told my dad, to his dismay, and he said, well, if you're gonna do this, why don't you be the best? So the best place at that time was in London. It was Vidal Sassoon's. Mm-hmm. And he said, I'm taking you over there. So, you know, he was taking a KC-135 over to Kuwait, I think, dropped me off at Heathrow Airport and said, go study. I said, well, what do I do now? He said, you'll figure it out, you're a man. I mean, I've never taken a cab before, scared to death. But, you know, I figured it out, and I think, you know, London was so great because it was so exciting at that time. And you had people all over the world that were coalescing together to produce these magnificent results. It wasn't a commodity-driven business. It was, like you said, it was art. Mm-hmm. And that just turned me on. I loved it. And I had the patience. I learned how to practice because I was a musician. And I just fell in love with it. And I won't say I was a natural, but it came easy for me. The technical part was difficult, but the scene, you know, the shape, the balance, everything that make a woman look really attractive, that came easier for me. And so
we see where your heart was.
Yeah,
in your mind, right?
Yeah. I always tell my friends I've had the best profession, the best career, and I've been very fortunate to follow that passion for a number of years now.
So you were dropped off at the airport by your father. What happened next?
Well, I figured out how to take a cab. So I took a cab to Piccadilly Circus from there, or Victoria Station. From there, I found my way to this little place I was staying. It was a little Polish place. And, you know, we didn't have a lot of money, so I ate cucumber sandwiches for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for about 35 cents, I think. And I went to school, and every day. And it was just, again, it was just game-changing for me. And that's when I really realized that the experience of being a hairdresser, you know, far exceeds everything that you think about. You know, most people think just go in and get a haircut, it's very commodity-driven. But I saw the possibilities. These guys are out doing magazines and, you know, in Paris, and they're out doing shoots, and they're, you know, they've taken their career to so many new heights and levels, and the possibilities, if you're a possibility thinker, what you can do is unlimited. And I started thinking like that, and I had a great attitude towards everything. I was a pretty quick learner, and I knew that the picture was bigger than I anticipated. I knew that I could do more than I thought I could do. It was a great avenue for me.
So you graduated from Vidal Sassoon's, and you did what after that? Came back to New York?
I came back to Wichita, Kansas.
Wichita.
Yeah,
wow.
And I got a little job, my first job really, and it was great, but I knew I wanted to do more, so I ended up getting a job in New York and started working, you know, all over the place. And You know, I did shoots in London, Paris, Greece. I used to work in Greece every year doing magazines, and Turkey even, and Stockholm, Copenhagen, and doing music videos with, you know, fun guys. And it was, you know, it was hard to believe I was getting paid to work on beautiful models in the best locations, eating great food. Of course, I'm a kid, you know, so I didn't really appreciate it as much as I would now. But it was unbelievable, and the people, the models, it was just a very exciting time, and it was great. And you know, you learn how to do hair, but you also learn how to network and learn how to talk to people, learn how to communicate to everybody. You know, famous models to you know, the gaffer that's working the set or whatever. So it was a great experience for me.
But then you turned down a very lucrative position in New York.
Yes, interesting you should say that, because I got this great job with a guy named Roger Thompson. He was a top guy from London, from Sassoons. He started his own place. I had to audition, so I got the job, $150 a haircut 30 years ago, and it was very, you know, it was a very cool job. It was the best job. It was in the old Barney's, a brand new salon. All the editors, famous models went there, and I loved it. But my wife, my girlfriend at the time, said, you know, I don't really want to live in New York, and I had this big show in Bologna, Italy to do. So it was the biggest show in the world, and they were featuring me and my team. So I go do the show. I said, let's go down to Rome and get married in the Vatican. She said, are you crazy? But I had a friend, Father Matt McGinnis, who's a dear friend of mine here at St. Thomas, and he had a friend, Father Paul Coakley, that was studying. So they made the arrangements. We went down to the Vatican in Rome, and we got married. And you know, we didn't have any family there, just models and famous hairdressers and, you know, producers. It was great.
Very special guests.
It was a special, yeah. And I look at what weddings cost today. I think we spent a couple $100.
Oh wow!
You know, so we had to, you know, give the priest a tip, and of course the official Vatican photographer took all the pictures. But it was a magical time, and she didn't want to move to New York, so she said, let's open a salon in Wichita, Kansas. And I said, you know, I know nothing about business. I don't even know how to read I don't even know how to spell P&L. You want me to open a business? You've got a degree in you know, microbiology. I don't think this is going to work. But she, you know, threw a magic spell on me and convinced me. So we did that, and we stayed in my sister-in-law's basement for about 9 months. And then their little space came open on Rock Road, and we decided to put a salon in. And I started cutting all these guys, Wichita famous guys' hair. You know, the Carneys, Jamie Coulter, who has given me so many great lessons in business, but Tom Devlin, all these guys. And I went to business school. They told me what to read, you know, how to think, and I did it. I paid attention. And I, you know, read everything from Peter Drucker to Deming to Seth Godin, and I understood it. And so we had a great training program, like I learned in London, and we trained our own staff, and we just blew up. And ever since then, we've just opened more locations, and we hand train every stylist. So we don't put anybody on the floor, Victor, until we feel like they have the capabilities and the commitment to be great. And it's a long process. But we have about 100 hairdressers now in that particular part of the company, and they do great. It's fun.
It's a long way from Vidal to Sassoon.
It's a long way.
And you have now 4 locations in Wichita.
4 locations in Wichita.
But not only in Wichita you work still around the world.
I do. I'm very fortunate that I kept that connection, and I always say I'm probably the oldest guy doing what I'm doing now, but people still love me, and I still love them. So I'm in San Antonio, I think in a couple weeks, in Chicago, Dallas, back to New York, and so I still love that part of it, and I still stand behind the chair and do hair because it keeps me, you know, keeps me humble, and it keeps me in the trenches, so I really understand, you know, what's happening in my industry, which I think is ultimately the most important thing. I love being a hairdresser, and I love being in the business I'm in. I try to talk you into going to beauty school. I think it's the best business in the world.
But you don't only have 4 salons, but you have a school.
Yes.
That you just referred to, having the kid from New York. Tell us about the school. How did it all begin?
Well, the school started because we were trying to grow our business, and we hire right from the schools, and they were all great, but they weren't producing the kind of student that we wanted. So it took us a long time to prepare this student for greatness. So we decided to open our own school. So I hired the smartest person I could find, a girl named Lori Ford at the time. She was a consultant. We flew all over the United States, going to the very best schools. We looked at what they were doing that was really good. So we took the best from them, and they were all great. They all knew me, so they gave me their playbooks and their P&Ls and their build-outs, and they were absolutely so accommodating. So we decided to find, we did a feasibility study with the university to find the best location. And I went down to the bank and said I need a bunch of money, and they were very accommodating, and that's how we started that, and it's been great. So 13 years we've been in business. We've graduated thousands of students, and I've got to tell you, for me personally, the intrinsic motivation behind that has been so great to see somebody's life and career come to fruition, that I give them the tools, or we give them the tools they need to be successful, and that for me is so gratifying, so great. I can't even put a price on it. Now our school is good, but we overspend. We have more teachers. We give them more education. You know why? Because I just want to have the best school. Right. That's important to me.
So what do you enjoy best or better, in styling hair or teaching others?
Well, that's a great question. I love them both, because when I style hair, it's like magic. I really love it. But when I teach a student, and I've changed, my dad used to tell me, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. So I don't look at it like I'm teaching a kid a haircut. Right. When I work with them, I'm teaching them self-esteem. I'm teaching them confidence. I'm teaching them how to go out, how to be a winner, and how to maybe not define their future on maybe their past, that every day's a new day. So for me, that is so intrinsically gratifying, that I love that probably more than I love anything, helping other people.
Do you do your wife's hair?
Do I do my wife's hair? Yeah, like every 5 minutes.
Or your daughter's hair?
Oh, no, they go into the salons. One lives in San Francisco, but my wife will wake me up at midnight. She'll say, what do you think? You think I should cut bangs? I'll say, go back to sleep. We'll talk about it in the morning. Yeah, I do. In the kitchen too, by the way.
In the kitchen.
Or wherever she wants it done.
We play a little game on this show. You probably have seen the program.
I've seen
before.
it, yes.
So I like to, your game, I'm going to play with you is to show you some pictures, and you give me your reaction and tell me why.
Okay, good.
All right? So this is the first one.
Oh yeah, sexy, beautiful, love that. Yeah, Jennifer Aniston, that's a wonderful haircut. That I could probably build another salon from that haircut. It's so popular even today. It's one that we all know how to do. That's beautiful. The color is magnificent. And I like, if you look at her face, the way it just frames her face in, she gets the height through these corners. It's a nice rounded shape, but it looks beautiful on her. The Rachel cut, it's a home run.
Rachel cut.
Yep, home run.
Have you set hair trends in your career?
We have tried. Things move through social media now so fast. We've influenced. I was actually named the most newsworthy hairdresser in America. I had it published in New York for 12 years, and at that particular time we were in Vogue, WL, all the magazines, and we did. We made it.
And one of the top 75 educators in America.
Yes, as well. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Let's continue with this.
Wow, that is wild. It's a little big for me. I like curls, but maybe that's a little too much. And of course, that is Cher with a big wig on. And I love wigs, and we certainly use wigs a lot for, when we do shoots, which we still do a lot of. Models are not going to cut their hair. You just put a wig on them. But yeah, I think it's a little big. It's a little much.
So what would you do with this?
I'd cut
You'd
that.
Trim it?
I would, yes. I'd take
down?
that baby down. That's what I would do. I mean, that hair gets into the room before she does. That's a big head of hair.
Okay. This one.
Oh, my wife's favorite movie, Joe Dirt. Yeah. I think that's very in vogue. I think it's hip looking. I'm just kidding, of course. You know, I'd have to just get my clippers out and shave the whole thing off.
Wow.
The mullet, you know, party in the front and business in the back, right?
I guess so.
Yeah, no, it's not one of my favorites.
What about this one?
Oh, that looks like something from the Captain and Tennille back in the, would that be the 70s or the 80s? A nice round shape. You don't see too many of these anymore. When you frame a face in like this, you better have a great face. And your makeup, your brows, you better curl your lashes, you better do your makeup perfectly. That's a hard haircut to wear. Yeah, it's a little outdated, I would say.
Okay. And we'll have the final one.
Well, I'm glad he doesn't come to me, because I think he would tell me exactly what to do to his hair. I would almost say that that President Trump probably does his own hair, cut, color, everything. That's what I would say. What do you think? What would you do with
I
that?
noticed the left ear is always covered and the right ear is not.
You have
Is that a fashion?
No, I think that's a mistake.
A mistake, okay.
Yeah, I think you just have to, I'm just not sure where I'd take that. I'm just glad he doesn't come into me. You know, people are funny and everybody's got a personality, and some people tell you exactly what they want you to do, whether it's possible or not. And other people are, you're the master, what would you do for me? And those are the best people, I think.
Right. So what are some of the most common questions you get from your clients?
I think, you know, my clientele is pretty set. I don't take new clients, but for the most part, we'll have clients that fly in from Chicago and places like that, and they want to say, how can you make me beautiful? You know, what can you do to make me look my best? And for them, you look at them, you take a very authentic look, and you might define the brows or change the makeup, curl your lashes, more mascara, highlights around the face, maybe round layers to make the square face a little softer, or maybe square layers to make, you know, the face just look a little bit more prominent. So I think that it's an individual approach to beauty, and everybody wants to look better, just about everybody, and that's the magic. And I always say our business is driven by discontent, because, you know, people can have the most beautiful hair in the world and they don't like it. Oh, it's too curly, it's too straight, it's too thick, it's too thin. And 90% of the time we'll say it's beautiful. You know, we can work with this. We can make it look like a masterpiece.
Have you made mistakes on a person's hair before?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, if you're not making mistakes, you're not doing new things and trying hard. But the mistakes are lessened as you get as old as I am, and you kind of, you know, you build from those challenges that you've had in the past. And I always say to my beauty school students, yes, you're going to make mistakes. Yes, you're going to fall down, and you know what you do? You pick yourself back up, you keep going. You can't let those little things define you as a hairdresser or as an esthetician.
So what should a hairstylist do if he or she were to accidentally shave a bald spot on someone's head?
Just turn them around so they can't see it in the mirror. So, I like you so much, I'm not going to charge you this time, goodbye. No, you should always admit your mistakes, and for whatever reason. You know, maybe the client's bopping around and he moves his head, and you're doing a nice little fade, and they do this, and, you know, but yeah, or the color comes out, you know, you wanted a nice, beautiful red, it comes out green. You know, I mean, mistakes happen. Hopefully they don't happen quite to that degree, but I believe in transparency. I always tell the client what you're doing, what happens. I always admit any mistakes that you make. That's kind of our rule in our company. I mean, we see over 14,000 services every month, so, you know, we're going to have some challenges, and we do, but we take care of the client. That's the thing, and whatever the client wants, they get. The client defines quality to us, and we want to keep them as happy as possible.
So what's the worst experience you've had cutting someone's hair?
Worst
and
experience?
Making a mistake?
I'm making a mistake? You know, I did Peter Lawford's hair one time. I mean, if you probably know who he is, our viewing audience might not, but I remember doing his hair for a commercial, and I parted it, and I had it perfect, and then he was so nice, absolutely nice. He stood up, looked in the mirror, and he says, you parted it on the wrong side, and I've got to go on in like a minute. I could change it. So that was pretty bad. Yeah, it was pretty scary. But no major challenges. I mean, I got a brush stuck in somebody's hair one time, and that took a while to get the brush out. I've seen about everything. I've done about everything. I've made probably every mistake that you can possibly make over my career, and I've learned from those mistakes.
So what do you do for fun when you're not working?
Well, my son, who just went to KU to play, to study, I used to watch all his games. He played basketball, football, and now, my wife and I spend time together. We go out to eat. I still travel a great deal. And I'm a photographer, so we've got a studio in our school. We also have another company called Prosper U, which does curriculums for beauty schools, and so we shoot a lot with that, and we edit and take pictures and put storyboards together. That's, I don't really have any hobbies other than work, and I'm lucky enough to love what I do. People ask me, Eric, what's your exit strategy? And I go, you know what? I'll be 100 years old doing a couple 90-year-old chicks in the chair. I have no exit strategy. I love this. I don't plan on ever giving it up, to be honest with you.
So how do hairstyle trends develop, Eric? And what will be the next big trend in your opinion?
Well, that's a good question. I would say I used to go to London all the time and go down on King's Road where these young people with no money, they're so incredible and ingenious and creative that they create these trends, and you see people from Prada or Hermes or Gucci down there looking at what the next trends are. What's the color going to be? What's the material going to be? They start these movements, these young kids do, and then they kind of segue into a bigger trend, and then the magazines pick them up, and then the designers, they work 6 months ahead, year ahead. In fact, two of my girls just did New York Fashion Week, and Trish Duell and Kennedy. And you look at those trends, and the trends, like little shags are in right now. Beach waves are in. Purple, green, yellow hair is in. You have 18-year-old girls with silver hair. So color is absolutely magnificent. And people say, well, it takes a long time for it to reach the Midwest, from the East Coast to the West Coast. Well, that's not true anymore, because the internet has made it a level playing field. So we are as good right here in Wichita, America, as any place in the world right now, doing great hair and great things. But trends are fun, and I love them, but I always think there's nothing like taking a classic individual approach to good looks and knowing how you look your best, how you feel your best, and that you have the capability to do your own hair, and it makes you feel good about who you are. And that's really, to me, that's the ultimate goal.
The one and only Eric Fisher. Thank you.
My pleasure.
It's been a pleasure having you.
It's been my pleasure, Victor. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for spending this time with us. oneonone@kpts.org is our email address if you have any questions or comments. Until next time, I'm Victor Hogstrom, and I'll see you again soon.